Hey, I'm Philip, and in this video series I'm gonna solve all TypeScript type challenges and walk you through the solutions. Follow along if you wanna learn and become a TypeScript pro. As you can see, I have a small update. It's a better camera. We already worked on Awaited and created a rather complex solution, which was due to a test. But now we can create a much easier one because I made a pull request and that got merged, which removed the test. So we can check that out. That's actually pretty cool. Open source contribution. So if you are interested in how that works, then let me know. I can make a video on that. I explained a little bit this pull request that I want to remove a test case, which is not usual, but it definitely made more sense in this case because the built-in generic awaited has a different behavior now than it had back then. So removing this test case basically makes more sense since it's closer to the original behavior. I would say we just solve this challenge again. Challenge number 189, easy awaited. If we have a type which is a wrap type like promise, how can we get the type which is inside the wrap type? For example, if we have promise example type, how to get example type. Let's check it out in code. As always, we start with the test type that uses our type on, let's start with X here. This obviously is now any, but we want it to be the type that is inside the promise, so this should return string for X. And the way to go here is to check if T extends promise like, which is a built-in generic, to basically include normal promises and objects that have the then property, which is exactly defined as the promise then property with unfulfilled and unrejected and so on. So we use this built in and then we infer, let's call it value. With infer value, we pick the internal value of the promise like object and then we can return the value if that fits. Otherwise, we have to call myAwaited again with, that doesn't make sense. What we want is we want to be able to unwrap multiple promises, as we can see here in Z and Z1. So for that, we definitely need a recursive solution. Let's do it the other way around. So if T extends a promise like infer value, then we should call again myAwaited with value. And otherwise, we return T. Does that already fit? String seems to work. Okay, let's go with the Z1 immediately. That is in the end also string or boolean, so this works. And let's check again T. T is number, which is exactly the type here that gets passed to unfulfilled in the function. So this is the much easier solution. I'm gonna explain it again. So T extends promise like, which is this built-in generic that we can use to not only check for promises but also for objects that provide this then property like a promise. Then we can infer the type of the value, and if T extends a promise like thing, then we call this function again. So basically every time this is still a promise, alright, call it again, unwrap one more layer. And in the end, if T does not extend a promise like thing, then it's a normal type, so we can just return T. And I would say now we look at the online solutions. I'm going for the first English one, and now you can see the much more complex solutions. Basically, you have to define your own type, which is this promise-like thing that defines unfulfilled. I don't know if back then, almost 2 years ago, this built-in type was already available, the promise-like type, but here you have to say then, okay, T is definitely a thenable or a promise, and then you check, okay, does it extend a promise? Then you get the inner, and if the inner one is actually a promise, then you call it again, otherwise you return inner. If this doesn't extend a promise, then you check, okay, does it then extend a thenable? Then you infer the inner one of the thenable. If it does, then you return the inner one, otherwise you return false. I posted the updated solution here when I did my pull request. I would say this one is done. If this video was helpful to you, please like and subscribe. See you in the next one.